Marcus Chen had always believed that first contact would happen in gleaming laboratories or diplomatic halls, not in the grimy maintenance tunnels beneath Europa Station. The emergency sirens had been wailing for 3 hours when he found himself face to face with something that definitely wasn't human. The creature stood nearly 8 feet tall, its forearms ending in clawed hands that could probably tear through steel plating. Its skin was a deep purple that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal, and its eyes, 6 of them arranged in 2 rows, glowed with an inner fire that made Marcus's flashlight seem pitiful. What caught his attention most, however, wasn't the alien's imposing size or otherworldly appearance. It was the massive wound across its torso, leaking a silvery fluid that pooled on the tunnel floor. "Stay back, human," the alien spoke, its voice a low rumble that seemed to come from multiple throats. The universal translator implant behind Marcus's ear struggled with the syntax, making the words sound choppy and uncertain. "This one is dying with honor. Do not interfere." Marcus had been trying to reach the backup power generators when the main corridor collapsed, trapping him in the maintenance network. He'd been crawling through these tunnels for hours, following emergency lighting toward what he hoped was an exit. Instead, he'd found this, a wounded alien warrior who looked like it had walked out of humanity's worst nightmares. But Marcus Chen hadn't. Survived 20 years as an emergency response engineer by backing down from dangerous situations. He'd pulled miners from collapsed shafts on Titan, rebuilt life support systems during asteroid storms, and once talked a suicidal AI back from the brink. A bleeding alien, no matter how intimidating, wasn't going to stop him now. "You're hurt," Marcus said, dropping his toolkit and moving closer despite the alien's warning. "Let me help." The creature's 6 eyes focused on him with predatory intensity. "This one is Kethvar of the Crimson Spear clan. Warriors of the Zephyrian Empire do not accept aid from prey species." "Prey species?" Marcus couldn't help but laugh, even though the situation was anything but funny. "Buddy, I don't know what kind of humans you've met, but we stopped being prey a long time ago." He pulled out his emergency medical kit, grateful that xenobiology courses had been mandatory for all station personnel. The basics were usually the same: stop the bleeding, prevent infection, stabilize the patient. The universal medical scanner in his kit would do most of the work, adapting its treatment protocols to non-human physiology. Kethavar made a sound that might have been laughter or a death rattle. Brave words from a soft skin who carries no weapons and shows no scars of battle. Marcus rolled up his sleeves, revealing burn scars from a plasma conduit explosion, and the twisted metal grafts where his left forearm had been crushed and rebuilt. "Who says I don't have scars? And who says you need weapons to be dangerous?" For the first time since their encounter began, the alien seemed genuinely surprised. Its eyes studied Marcus with new interest as the human activated his medical scanner and began working on the wound. "You would risk yourself for an enemy?" Kethvar asked, its voice softer now but still carrying that dangerous edge. "Are you my enemy?" Marcus replied, carefully cleaning the wound. The scanner indicated that the alien's blood was acidic, but not enough to burn through his gloves. "Because from where I'm standing, you look like someone who needs help, and I'm someone who can give it." The alien's response was interrupted by another tremor that shook the entire station. Dust rained from the ceiling, and somewhere in the distance Marcus could hear the groaning of stressed metal. The emergency sirens had stopped, which was either very good or very bad news. "The station is failing," Kethvar observed. "Your people are weak builders." "Our people are fast builders," Marcus corrected, applying a synthetic tissue patch to the worst part of the alien's wound. "We built this place in 18 months to mine ice from Europa's subsurface ocean. It was supposed to be temporary, but then we found the quantum crystals in the ice, and temporary became permanent." "Quantum crystals?" The alien's voice sharpened with interest. "You harvest quantum crystals and live above them? No wonder your station shakes itself apart." Marcus paused in his work. "What do you mean?" "Quantum crystals are not mere resources, human. They are fragments of reality itself, pieces of the universe's foundation. To drill and mine them carelessly is to invite catastrophe. Your people have destabilized the local space-time matrix." Another tremor, stronger this time. Marcus could feel the gravity generators struggling to maintain their field. If they failed, everyone on the station would be in serious trouble. "Can it be fixed?" Marcus asked, securing the bandage around Kethavar's torso. The alien attempted to sit up, testing its mobility. The wound was sealed, though it would need time to heal properly. "Perhaps. but it would require someone willing to descend into the crystal chambers and manually realign the quantum matrices. It is work that would kill most beings instantly. Most beings. Humans might survive it, Kethavar admitted grudgingly. Your species has an unusual resistance to quantum fluctuations. We have observed this in our encounters with your military forces. Marcus helped the alien to its feet, noting how much taller Kethavar was when standing. You fought humans before? The Zephyrian Empire has been at war with your species for 6 cycles. You are troublesome opponents. Yet you're willing to tell me how to save this station? Kethavar's 6 eyes studied Marcus for a long moment. You showed this one mercy when death would have been easier. You risked yourself for a stranger and enemy. Such actions have meaning among the Zephyrian clans. The alien reached out with one of its 4 hands, extending a single claw.
If you would save your people, human Marcus Chen, you must accept a blood bond with this one.
The path ahead requires trust, and trust among Zephyrians is sealed in blood. Marcus looked at the extended claw, understanding the gravity of what was being offered. He didn't know much about alien customs, but he recognized a pivotal moment when he saw one. The station shook again, reminding him that thousands of lives hung in the balance. What exactly does a blood bond mean? He asked. It means that from this moment forward your honor becomes mine and mine becomes yours. Your victories are my victories, your failures my failures. It is a sacred trust among warriors. Marcus thought about the people on the station. Engineers, scientists, miners, families with children. He thought about his own daughter, working in the hydroponics lab 3 levels up. He thought about the choice between certain death and an uncertain alliance with an alien warrior. Without hesitation, Marcus pricked his finger on the offered claw. The moment Marcus's blood touched Kethavar's claw, the world exploded into sensation. Pain shot through his hand, but it was followed by something else, a sudden awareness that wasn't his own. For a split second he could feel Kethavar's thoughts, alien and vast and utterly foreign, pressing against his mind like a tide of liquid metal. Then it was over, leaving Marcus gasping and staring at his hand. The small wound had already closed, leaving only a thin silver line across his fingertip that seemed to pulse with its own light. It is done, Kethavar said, and there was something like reverence in the alien's voice. The blood bond is sealed. You are now oath-bound to this one as this one is oath-bound to you. Marcus flexed his fingers, noting how the silver mark seemed to respond to his pulse. I can feel you, he said, surprised. Not your thoughts exactly, but your presence. As this one can feel yours, the bond will strengthen with time and shared purpose. Kethavar gestured toward the tunnel ahead. Now we must move quickly. The quantum destabilization accelerates, and your people have perhaps hours before the cascade becomes irreversible. They made their way through the maintenance tunnels, Kethavar's massive form surprisingly graceful in the confined space. Marcus led the way, following the emergency lighting toward the crystal mining levels. As they moved, he found himself asking questions he'd never thought he'd need to ask. How do you know so much about quantum crystals? The Zephyrian Empire has harvested them for millennia, Kethavar replied. But we do so with reverence and precision. Each crystal is treated as a living thing, carefully extracted to maintain cosmic balance. Your people mine them like common ore. Marcus winced. We didn't know. This is our first encounter with quantum crystals. Hell, it's our first encounter with your people. Yet your species shows remarkable adaptability. Most civilizations we encounter either worship the crystals as gods or ignore them entirely. Humans alone seem capable of both respecting their power and using it constructively. They reached a junction where the tunnel split in 3 directions. Marcus consulted his wrist display, checking the station schematics. Crystal chambers are down and to the right. But Kethavar, if your people have been harvesting these crystals for thousands of years, why haven't we run into each other before? The alien's laugh was like grinding stone. Because blood-bonded Marcus, your species has a talent for finding things that should remain hidden. This crystal deposit was thought lost for centuries. The quantum signatures indicated it had collapsed into dimensional fold space. Yet here you are, having built a station directly above it. Another tremor shook the station stronger than before. Emergency lights flickered, and Marcus could hear the distant sound of hull plating buckling under stress. Through the blood bond, he felt Kethavar's concern, not for the station or its inhabitants, but for Marcus himself. You fear for me, Marcus said, surprised. The bond creates investment in each other's survival, Kethavar admitted. Your death would diminish this one significantly. Marcus nodded, understanding. Then we'd better make sure I don't die. They reached the entrance to the crystal chambers and Marcus's jaw dropped. Through the reinforced viewport, he could see a cavern that stretched beyond the reach of the emergency lighting. Quantum crystals jutted from every surface, walls, ceiling, floor, in formations that defied physics. Some crystals hung in midair, rotating slowly around invisible axes. Others seemed to phase in and out of existence there one moment and gone the next. By the void, Kethvar breathed. This is a primary formation. No wonder your station is failing. Marcus checked his radiation detector and was relieved to see normal readings. How are we not dead from quantum exposure? Human neural patterns interact with quantum fields differently than most species. Your consciousness actually stabilizes local quantum fluctuations. It is why humans make such effective starship navigators, and why the Empire considers you such a threat. The access hatch to the chamber was marked with warning signs in 17 languages, but Marcus's engineering override codes still worked. As the hatch cycled open, he felt a strange tingling sensation, like mild static electricity running over his skin. Stay close, Kethvar warned. In there, reality became flexible. They entered the chamber, and Marcus immediately understood why humans were supposedly resistant to quantum effects. While Kethvar moved carefully, clearly fighting against some unseen force, Marcus felt oddly at home among the crystals. The tingling sensation increased, but it wasn't uncomfortable, more like walking through a gentle rainstorm. Incredible, Marcus whispered, approaching the largest crystal formation. It was nearly 10 feet tall, a spiraling tower of what looked like crystallized light. How do we realign them? Kethvar pointed to a series of smaller crystals arranged around the chamber's perimeter. Those are the stabilization nodes. They must be adjusted to create a harmonic resonance that will lock the primary formation back into stable spacetime. But the process requires precise manipulation of quantum frequencies. Marcus studied the nodes, noting how they seemed to pulse with different rhythms. Like tuning a musical instrument? More complex, but the analogy is apt. Each node must be calibrated to resonate with its neighbors, while maintaining harmonic relationship with the primary crystal. Kethvar gestured with two of its arms. For most beings, touching the nodes directly would result in molecular dissolution. The quantum flux would tear apart any matter not naturally resistant to dimensional variance. But not humans. Not humans, Kethvar confirmed. Your species' unique neural architecture creates a bioelectric field that naturally harmonizes with quantum fluctuations. You could theoretically manipulate the nodes directly. Marcus approached the nearest node, a crystal about the size of his fist that hovered 3 feet off the ground. As he drew closer, he could feel it responding to his presence, its pulsing rhythm shifting slightly. I can sense what it needs, he said, surprised. It's like it's singing out of tune, and I can hear the right note. Through the blood bond, he felt Kethvar's amazement. The alien had expected human resistance to quantum effects, but not this level of natural harmony. Marcus reached out and gently touched the crystal. It was warm under his fingers, and he could feel its quantum signature like a vibration in his bones. Carefully, he began to adjust its frequency, turning it like a tuning peg until it resonated perfectly with the harmonic he could sense in the chamber. The moment the first node locked into proper alignment, the effect was dramatic. The chaotic quantum fluctuations that had been destabilizing the station immediately began to calm. Through the chamber's viewports, Marcus could see other crystals starting to synchronize their movements. Remarkable, Kethvar said. This one has observed Master Crystal Singers work for days to achieve such precision. You accomplished it in moments. Marcus moved to the second node, confidence growing. Crystal Singers. Zephyrian specialists trained from birth to harmonize quantum crystals. They are revered as living treasures, protected and honored above all others. The training takes decades, and few survive the process of neural modification required to interact safely with quantum fields. As Marcus worked on the second node, he felt the chamber's chaotic energy continuing to stabilize. You're saying I'm doing something that takes your people decades to learn? You are doing something most of this one's people cannot do at all. Blood bond or no bond. The natural human resistance to quantum variance, combined with your species' intuitive understanding of harmonic relationships, it is a rare gift. The third and fourth nodes responded even more readily to Marcus's touch, as if the chamber itself was learning to work with him. By the time he reached the fifth node, the quantum crystals throughout the chamber were moving in perfect synchronization, their chaotic dance transformed into an elegant ballet. The primary formation is stabilizing, Kethvar observed, checking readings on a device Marcus hadn't noticed before. The space-time distortions are decreasing rapidly. Your station will survive. Marcus completed the adjustment of the final node and stepped back, exhausted but exhilarated. The chamber had been transformed from a chaotic storm of quantum energy into something that felt almost serene. The crystals continued their dance, but now it was purposeful, controlled. So what happens now? Marcus asked. The station is safe, but you're still technically my enemy. And I'm still technically yours. Kethvar was quiet for a long moment, its 6 eyes studying Marcus with an expression that might have been respect. That, the alien said finally, is a question that will require wisdom from those much higher in authority than this one. But blood-bonded Marcus, this one believes your people and mine have much to discuss. Through the bond, Marcus felt something he hadn't expected from the fierce warrior, hope. The trip down, word of the successful stabilization, had spread through the emergency communication network, and Marcus found himself answering questions from station personnel while trying to explain why he was traveling with an 8-foot-tall alien warrior that their military database is classified as extremely hostile. It's complicated, Marcus kept saying into his comm unit, which was the understatement of the century. Kethvar moved behind him with surprising stealth for something so large, but Marcus could feel the aliens' growing tension through their blood bond. As they approached the main sections of the station, they would encounter more humans, and some of those humans would undoubtedly be armed security personnel, who might shoot first and ask questions later. Your people will not understand, Kethvar said, voicing Marcus's own concerns. To them, this one is simply an enemy to be destroyed. Let me handle that, Marcus replied, though he wasn't sure how. The blood bond was still new to both of them, and he could sense layers of meaning in Kethvar's words that went beyond simple communication. There was honor involved and duty, and something else that felt almost like longing. They reached the main transit hub to find a security team waiting for them, 6 humans in full tactical gear, weapons raised but not yet targeted. Station Commander Sarah Walsh stood behind them, her expression carefully neutral as she took in the sight of Marcus, accompanied by what her people would see as an alien threat. Marcus, Walsh said, her voice carrying the tone of someone trying very hard to remain calm. Step away from the individual. Security protocols require... Commander, Marcus interrupted, moving to place himself between the security team and Kethvar. This individual just helped save the station and everyone on it. I strongly recommend we treat him as a guest rather than a threat. Through the blood bond, Marcus felt Kethvar's surprise at being defended. The alien had expected Marcus to abandon their alliance the moment it became inconvenient, and the fact that he hadn't seemed to matter greatly to the Zephyrian warrior. Marcus, our intelligence files indicate that this species has been responsible for attacks on human colonies throughout the Outer Rim, Walsh said. We can't simply... And humans have been responsible for attacks on Zephyrian settlements, Kethvar interjected, its voice rumbling through the universal translators everyone wore. War is a two-sided endeavor, Commander Walsh. The security team's weapons shifted slightly toward Kethvar, but Marcus held up a hand. Everyone needs to calm down. Kethvar, meet Commander Sarah Walsh. Commander, meet Kethvar of the Crimson Spear Clan. We have a lot to discuss. What followed was the most surreal briefing Marcus had ever been part of. They gathered in the station's main conference room. Marcus, Commander Walsh, Kethvar, and the heads of science, engineering, and security departments. The alien had to duck to fit through the doorway and couldn't use the chairs designed for human anatomy, but somehow they made it work. Let me understand this correctly, Dr. Elizabeth Harper, the chief xenobiologist said after Marcus finished explaining about the quantum crystals and the blood bond. You formed some kind of mystical connection with a member of a species we're currently at war with? It's not mystical, Marcus replied, though he wasn't entirely sure about that. It's more like a shared commitment to mutual survival and honor. Kethvar spoke up. The blood bond is ancient among my people. It transcends simple alliance or friendship. Those who are blood bonded share fate itself. Chief of Security Rodriguez leaned forward. And what exactly does that mean for us? Are you planning to share our defense codes with your new friend here? Marcus felt Kethavar's surge of indignation through the bond, but the alien's voice remained level. Honor forbids betrayal of one's blood bonded. This one would die before bringing harm to Marcus Chen or those under his protection. Which brings us to an interesting point, Commander Walsh said. According to our records, you shouldn't be here at all. This system is supposed to be clear of Zephyrian presence. This one's ship was damaged in battle with human forces 3 systems away, Kethavar explained. The quantum drive failed and emergency protocols brought the ship here for repairs. The crash damaged life support systems. This one came to the station seeking medical aid and found instead. The alien's eyes fixed on Marcus. Unexpected alliance. Dr. Harper consulted her tablet. How long can you survive without proper medical attention? Perhaps 2 of your days, Kethavar admitted. Zephyrian physiology requires specific atmospheric conditions and nutrient supplements that this one's emergency supplies cannot provide indefinitely. Marcus felt a chill that wasn't entirely his own. Through the blood bond, he could sense Kethavar's underlying weakness, the way the alien was struggling to maintain its strength and dignity despite failing health. We have medical facilities, Walsh said slowly, but treating an enemy combatant raises serious questions about— He's not an enemy combatant, Marcus interrupted. He's my blood-bonded partner, and according to what he's told me, that makes him a protected individual under Zephyrian law. More importantly, it makes him my responsibility. And this one accepts that responsibility in return, Kethavar added. Blood-bonded Marcus, there are things you should know about the conflict between our peoples. What Kethavar revealed over the next hour changed everything Marcus thought he knew about the war. The Zephyrian Empire hadn't initiated hostilities with humanity. They'd been defending their territory from what they saw as an aggressive expansion by a species that seemed to specialize in destabilizing entire star systems. Your people discovered faster-than-light travel only recently, Kethavar explained. But you have expanded through the galaxy at a rate that alarms many species. Worse, everywhere humans go, they reshape environments to suit their needs without understanding the consequences. Like what we did here with the quantum crystals, Marcus said. Exactly. The Zephyrian Empire has spent centuries learning to work with quantum crystals, to harvest them without disrupting the fundamental forces that hold reality together. Your people found this deposit and immediately began large-scale extraction, without any understanding of what they were manipulating. Dr. Harper looked troubled. We had no way of knowing. Our initial surveys showed the crystals were stable, non-reactive. They are stable when left in their natural formations, Kethavar said. But when extracted in large quantities, they create cascading instabilities that can affect entire star systems. The Empire has been forced to take action to prevent catastrophic quantum collapse events. Commander Walsh stared at the alien. You're saying the war started because we're accidentally threatening to destroy reality? Not destroy, Kethavar corrected. Destabilize, but the effects would be felt across multiple dimensions. Entire civilizations could be pulled into quantum fold space or phased out of existence entirely. Marcus felt sick. How many systems have we destabilized? 7 confirmed cascade events. Dozens more showing early warning signs. Kethavar's voice carried weight of genuine sorrow. The Empire tried diplomatic contact first, but your military forces interpreted our attempts at communication as preemptive attacks. Because we didn't understand what you were trying to tell us, Marcus realized. And now thousands have died on both sides in a conflict born of mutual misunderstanding, Kethavar confirmed. The conference room fell silent as the humans absorbed this information. Finally, Commander Walsh spoke up. If what you're telling us is true, then we need to get this information to Earth Command immediately. But how do we verify any of this? Kethavar looked at Marcus. The blood bond enables certain sharing of knowledge. If blood-bonded Marcus is willing, this one can provide direct memory access to Empire records of the conflict. But the process requires deep trust from both parties. Marcus felt the aliens' uncertainty through their connection. What Kethavar was offering was unprecedented, allowing a human to access Zephyrian military intelligence through their mystical bond. It would require Kethavar to make itself completely vulnerable, to trust Marcus with information that could potentially be used against the Empire. What are the risks? Marcus asked. For this one, the risk is betrayal and dishonor if you misuse the information. For you, the human mind is not designed to process Zephyrian memories directly. There could be permanent damage to your consciousness, Dr. Harper leaned forward. I strongly advise against this. We have no idea what kind of neurological effects. Doctor, Marcus interrupted. If what Kethavar is telling us is true, then this war is based on a misunderstanding that's going to get a lot more people killed. Both human and Zephyrian. I think that risk is worth taking. Through the blood bond, Marcus felt Kethavar's profound gratitude and respect. The alien had expected humans to be selfish, to prioritize their own safety over the greater good. Marcus's willingness to risk himself for the sake of peace between their species reinforced Kethavar's growing belief that the blood bond had been the right choice. Very well, Kethavar said, but this one insists on proper medical monitoring. If the process begins to damage blood-bonded Marcus, it must be stopped immediately. Commander Walsh looked around the room at her staff, then back at Marcus. This is completely outside any protocol I've ever heard of. But if there's a chance to end this Zephyrian physiology. Dr. Harper worked alongside the station's AI to create monitoring systems that could track Marcus's vital signs, while Kethavar underwent the memory sharing process. The alien lay on a reinforced table, sensors attached to various points on its purple skin, while Marcus sat in a chair positioned so they could maintain physical contact. Remember, Dr. Harper said for the third time, the moment you feel disoriented or experience pain, you tell us immediately. We don't know what Zephyrian memories might do to human brain chemistry. Marcus nodded, though his attention was focused on the warm sensation where his hand rested against Kethavar's arm. The blood bond had been growing stronger over the past few hours, and he could feel the alien's emotions more clearly now, determination mixed with deep concern for Marcus's safety. This one is ready, Kethavar said, its voice quieter than usual. Blood-bonded Marcus. Understand that what you will experience are not just memories, but the emotional context that accompanies them. You will feel this one's pain, anger, and loss as if they were your own. I understand, Marcus replied, though he wasn't sure he really did. Kethavar closed all 6 eyes and began a low humming that seemed to resonate through the blood bond. Marcus felt the familiar tingling sensation intensify, and then suddenly the medical bay disappeared. He was standing on the bridge of a Zephyrian warship, but somehow he was also Kethavar, feeling the alien's memories as if they were his own. The ship was massive, built for both beauty and war, with flowing lines that seemed to channel energy itself. Through Kethavar's eyes, Marcus could see the tactical display showing a human colony ship in distress. Commander Kethavar, came a voice that Marcus understood despite having never heard the Zephyrian language before. The human vessel is mining quantum crystals in the Viridian system. Their extraction methods are causing dimensional fractures. Through Kethavar's memory, Marcus felt the alien's horror at the tactical readings. The humans weren't just mining crystals, they were strip mining an entire quantum field, pulling massive formations out of stable space-time without any understanding of the consequences. The dimensional fabric of the system was beginning to unravel. Open communication channels, Kethavar commanded. We must warn them before the cascade effect reaches critical mass. Marcus experienced Kethavar's growing frustration, as the human colony ship interpreted every communication attempt as an attack. The humans had military escorts that opened fire the moment the Zephyrian ship approached, forcing Kethavar to choose between defending his crew and allowing the humans to continue their dangerous mining operation. The memory shifted, and Marcus was experiencing the aftermath of the Viridian incident. The quantum cascade had indeed reached critical mass, pulling 3 planets and 17 moons into dimensional fold space. Millions of beings, human and Zephyrian civilians, had simply ceased to exist, phased out of reality by the quantum collapse. The Empire demands action, said another Zephyrian officer, this one wearing the elaborate armor of high command. These humans are a threat to galactic stability. Every system they enter becomes unstable within cycles. Marcus felt Kethavar's reluctance to wage war, but also the alien's duty to protect innocent life throughout the galaxy. The decision to begin military action against human expansion hadn't been made lightly. It had been a desperate attempt to prevent further catastrophic quantum collapses. The memories continued, showing battle after battle where Zephyrian forces tried to disable human mining operations before they could destabilize entire star systems. Marcus experienced Kethavar's growing respect for human tenacity and courage. Even as the alien despaired at their refusal to understand the warnings, Then came the memory that changed everything. Marcus was experiencing a diplomatic meeting in the Zephyrian capital, where Empire scientists presented their findings about human quantum resistance to the ruling council. The implications were staggering. Humans weren't just immune to quantum fluctuations, they were natural quantum stabilizers. Their very presence seemed to harmonize chaotic quantum fields. If the humans could be taught proper quantum crystal management, the lead scientist explained, they could prevent cascade events entirely. Their neural patterns actually strengthen dimensional barriers when they work in harmony with quantum fields. But they resist all attempts at communication, another council member pointed out. Their military treats our diplomatic vessels as enemy combatants. Marcus felt Kethavar's sudden realization. If humans could be convinced to work with the Empire instead of against it, they could become the galaxy's greatest protectors against quantum instability. But the growing war had made such cooperation seem impossible. The memory-sharing session was interrupted by alarms in the medical bay. Dr. Harper was calling his name, but her voice sounded distant and distorted. Marcus tried to respond, but found himself caught between his own consciousness and Kethavar's memories. Neural activity is spiking beyond safe parameters, Dr. Harper announced. I'm terminating the session. Wait, Marcus managed to say, though speaking felt like trying to communicate through thick fog. There's more. Something important about... The connection severed abruptly, leaving Marcus gasping and disoriented. The medical bay felt strange and small after experiencing the vast expanses of Zephyrian starships and planetary systems. Through the weakened blood bond, he could feel Kethavar's concern and disappointment that the session had been cut short. How do you feel? Dr. Harper asked, running her medical scanner over Marcus's head. Like I've been hit by a freight train carrying someone else's nightmares, Marcus replied honestly. But I understand now. The war, it's not what we thought it was. Commander Walsh, who had been observing from the corner of the medical bay, stepped forward. What did you see? Marcus took a deep breath, trying to organize the flood of alien memories into something humans could understand. The Zephyrians aren't trying to conquer us. They're trying to stop us from accidentally destroying reality. Over the next hour, Marcus shared what he had experienced. The quantum cascade events, the millions of lives lost, the Empire's desperate attempts at diplomacy that humans had interpreted as attacks. By the time he finished, the room was silent except for the quiet hum of medical equipment. If this is accurate, Walsh said finally, then we need to get this information to Earth Command immediately. But we also need independent verification. This one can provide coordinates for systems affected by quantum cascade events, Kethavar offered. Though the alien looked exhausted from the memory sharing. Your scientists could verify the dimensional damage. Dr. Harper looked up from her datapad. There's something else. The neural scans during the memory sharing showed some interesting patterns. Marcus, your brain activity was synchronizing with quantum field fluctuations throughout the procedure. It's as if the alien memories were teaching your neurons to interface with quantum structures more efficiently. What does that mean? Marcus asked. It means the Zephyrians might be right about human quantum resistance. But more than that, exposure to their memories might be enhancing your natural abilities. Dr. Harper paused, studying her readings. I'd like to run some tests, see how you interact with quantum fields now. Kethavar struggled to sit up on the medical table. Blood-bonded Marcus, there is something else. The memory sharing was incomplete, but this one sensed your readiness to experience the final revelation. What final revelation? The true reason the Empire values the blood bond ritual so highly. What it means when a human forms such a connection with a Zephyrian warrior. Kethavar's 6 eyes focused on Marcus with an intensity that made him feel exposed. The Empire has been searching for a human capable of serving as a quantum stability nexus, someone who could harmonize entire star systems and prevent cascade events throughout the galaxy. Marcus felt his heart rate spike. And you think I might be capable of that? The blood bond does not form with those lacking the necessary spiritual and neural compatibility, Kethavar said. That you survived the memory-sharing process, that your consciousness is adapting to quantum harmonics. These are signs that you may be the one the Empire has been seeking. Commander Walsh stepped forward. What exactly are you proposing? This one proposes that blood-bonded Marcus accompany this one to the Empire capital, where the Council of Quantum Singers could properly evaluate his abilities. If he proves capable of serving as a stability nexus, He could become the bridge between our peoples, the one who makes peace possible. Marcus felt the weight of the alien's words settling on his shoulders. Through the blood bond, he could sense Kethvar's hope and determination, but also the magnitude of what was being asked. To travel to the heart of the Zephyrian Empire, to submit to testing by alien scientists, to potentially become responsible for preventing quantum disasters throughout the galaxy, it was overwhelming. And if I'm not capable? Marcus asked. Kethvar's voice carried a note of sadness. Then the war continues and more systems fall to quantum cascade events. But this one believes you are capable, blood-bonded Marcus. The bond would not have formed otherwise. Dr. Harper was shaking her head. This is crazy. We're talking about sending a human into enemy territory, based on some mystical connection and unverified claims about quantum ability. Anyone had expected. Admiral Chen, no relation to Marcus despite the shared surname, appeared on the main display looking as if she hadn't slept in days. Behind her, Marcus could see the frantic activity of a military command center dealing with a crisis. Mr. Chen, the Admiral said without preamble, 3 hours ago we lost contact with the mining operation at Kepler 442. Before the blackout, they reported massive quantum disturbances similar to what you describe in your report. If the Zephyrian claims about cascade events are accurate, we may have just lost another entire system. Marcus felt Kethvar's distress through the blood bond. The alien had been hoping that the Kepler system would be stable, that humanity's quantum mining operations had learned from previous mistakes. Apparently not. Admiral, Commander Walsh said, are you authorizing Chen's diplomatic mission to the Zephyrian capital? I'm authorizing more than that, the Admiral replied grimly. Mr. Chen, you're being assigned a military escort. The carrier Prometheus is being diverted to Europa Station to pick you up. If this quantum nexus business has any validity, then finding a way to prevent these cascade events just became our highest priority. Marcus felt a chill. Military escort? Admiral, I don't think showing up at the Zephyrian capital with warships is going to help with diplomatic relations. The Prometheus isn't for attacking, Mr. Chen. It's for evacuation if things go wrong. We're not sending our first potential quantum nexus into enemy territory without backup. The Admiral's expression softened slightly. And it's not just about military strategy. The quantum cascade at Kepler 442 affected 17 billion people. If you can help prevent future events like that, then you're potentially one of the most important humans alive. Through the blood bond, Marcus felt Kethvar's understanding of the human military mindset, but also the aliens' concern about how the Empire would react to human warships in their territory. Blood-bonded Marcus, Kethvar said, addressing the display. This one understands your people's caution, but the Empire will view military vessels as an act of aggression. Perhaps a compromise. Your escort ship could remain at the border of Empire space while this one and blood-bonded Marcus continue to the capital in a diplomatic vessel. Admiral, Chen studied the alien for a long moment. You're asking us to trust that our people will be safe in your territory. As this one is trusting that this one will be safe in yours, Kethvar replied. The blood bond creates mutual obligation for protection. Harm to blood-bonded Marcus would require this one to seek vengeance, just as harm to this one would require Marcus to do the same. Mutual assured destruction through mystical connection, the Admiral mused. It's not the strangest diplomatic arrangement I've heard of, but it's close. The next 36 hours passed in a blur of preparation. The Prometheus arrived at Europa Station with a full diplomatic contingent, medical staff, and enough firepower to level a small moon. Marcus found himself undergoing a battery of tests designed to measure his quantum resonance capabilities, while Kethvar worked with human engineers to modify a diplomatic shuttle for the journey to the Empire capital. Dr. Harper pulled Marcus aside after his final medical examination. Your quantum resonance levels have increased by nearly 300% since the memory sharing session. Whatever happened in there, it's permanently altered your neural chemistry. Is that good or bad? Marcus asked. Honestly, I have no idea. You're the first human to undergo this kind of transformation, but the quantum field interactions your brain is showing, they're unlike anything we've ever recorded. The departure came sooner than Marcus had expected. The modified shuttle was barely large enough for 2 humans and 1 Zephyrian, but it had been equipped with the best communication equipment and shielding that human technology could provide. As they prepared to leave the Prometheus at the edge of Empire space, Marcus felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders like a physical burden. "Remember," Admiral Chen said during the final briefing, "you're not just representing humanity. You're potentially our only hope for ending this war and preventing future cascade events. But if at any point you feel unsafe or compromised, you abort the mission immediately." Marcus nodded, though he knew that leaving might not be an option once they reached the Empire capital. Through the blood bond, he could feel Kethvar's nervousness about returning to the Empire after being reported as missing in action. There would be questions to answer and explanations to give before they could even begin discussing Marcus's potential as a quantum nexus. The journey to the Empire capital took 3 days, during which Marcus experienced wonders he had never imagined. Zephyrian space was unlike anything in human territory. Entire regions where quantum crystals had been cultivated into massive structures that served as both cities and starships. The aliens had learned to work with quantum mechanics in ways that made their technology seem like magic. "This is Zeth Kalar," Kethvar explained as they approached a space station that looked like a crystalline flower the size of a small moon. "It is one of our primary quantum cultivation centers, where young crystals are nurtured into proper harmony with local spacetime." Marcus stared at the structure in amazement. "How is it possible? The energy requirements alone should be enormous." "Your people think of quantum crystals as sources of energy to be harvested," Kethvar said. "We think of them as partners in maintaining cosmic stability. They provide power because we help them maintain their natural harmonics. It is a relationship, not exploitation." As they flew deeper into Empire space, Marcus began to understand the magnitude of what the Zephyrians had achieved. Every system they passed through showed evidence of careful quantum management. Crystal formations that had been shaped and guided rather than mined. Space lanes that followed natural quantum currents rather than forcing straight-line paths through reality. "How many species are part of the Empire?" Marcus asked. 47 currently, with 12 more in various stages of integration," Kethvar replied. "Most joined willingly once they understood the benefits of quantum stability. A few required persuasion. And humans? Humans have proven remarkably resistant to persuasion," Kethvar said with what might have been amusement. "Your species seems to prefer learning through direct experience rather than accepting guidance from others." Marcus couldn't argue with that assessment. Humanity's first instinct was usually to poke at new phenomena until they figured out how they worked, regardless of the potential consequences. They reached the Empire capital on the 3rd day, and Marcus's first sight of it left him speechless. The planet itself had been transformed into a living work of art. Quantum crystals growing in harmony with biological ecosystems, cities that phased in and out of different dimensions as needed, spacecraft that moved like living creatures through carefully maintained quantum currents. "Welcome to Zeth-Andral," Kethvar said as their shuttle approached a landing platform that materialized out of thin air as they drew near. "Heart of the Empire and home to the Council of Quantum Singers." Marcus felt his heart racing as they descended. Through the blood bond, he could sense Kethvar's own mixture of pride and anxiety. The alien was proud to show Marcus the achievements of Zephyrian civilization, but anxious about how the Council would receive a human who claimed to have quantum nexus potential. The landing platform solidified beneath them with a musical chime that Marcus felt in his bones. As they disembarked, he was struck by the sheer alienness of the environment. The air itself seemed to shimmer with quantum energy, and he could hear a constant low harmonic that might have been music, or might have been the planet's quantum field singing to itself. "Blood-bonded Marcus," Kethvar said formally as a group of Zephyrians approached their shuttle. "This one presents you to the Council of Quantum Singers. May your harmony bring peace to both our peoples." The Zephyrians who greeted them were different from Kethvar, taller, more slender, with skin that seemed to contain swirling galaxies instead of the solid purple Marcus was used to. When they spoke, their voices created harmonies that made the air itself vibrate with complex melodies. "Warrior Kethvar," the lead singer said, "you return to us with claims that strain belief. A human quantum nexus? The Council is skeptical. This one requests formal testing of blood-bonded Marcus's capabilities," Kethvar replied, falling into what Marcus recognized as a ceremonial speaking pattern. "Let the quantum crystals themselves judge his worthiness." The lead singer studied Marcus with eyes that seemed to contain miniature stars. Very well, but understand, human, that the testing process can be dangerous even for those with natural quantum resistance. Many who attempt to become quantum nexuses are driven to madness by the experience of harmonizing with cosmic forces beyond normal comprehension. Marcus swallowed hard. I understand the risks, but if there's a chance to prevent more cascade events to end the war between our peoples, then I have to try. Through the blood bond, he felt Kethavar's surge of pride and affection. The alien believed in him, had staked its own honor on his potential success. Marcus just hoped he could live up to that faith. As they were escorted toward the council chambers, Marcus caught sight of quantum crystal formations that dwarfed anything he had seen before. Structures and ceiling were composed entirely of quantum crystals arranged in patterns that seemed to shift and flow like liquid thought. As he entered the chamber, the crystals began to respond to his presence, their harmonic resonance shifting from a gentle hum to something that felt almost like anticipation. The chamber contains quantum crystal formations from 17 different star systems, explained Valandra, the chief quantum singer who would oversee the testing. Her voice carried harmonics that made Marcus's enhanced neural patterns tingle. Each formation represents a different type of quantum instability. Cascade events, dimensional fractures, temporal anomalies. Your task is to harmonize them all simultaneously. Marcus looked around the chamber, feeling somewhat overwhelmed. Through the blood bond, he could sense Kethavar's confidence, but also the alien's underlying concern. Even among Zephyrians, quantum nexus testing had a high failure rate. What happens if I can't harmonize them all? Marcus asked. Best case scenario, you experience temporary disorientation and neural feedback, Valandra replied. Worst case, your consciousness becomes trapped in quantum fold space and your body remains in permanent, catatonic state. Encouraging, Marcus muttered. The testing began with a single crystal formation, a spiraling structure about the size of his fist that floated at head height in the center of the chamber. As Marcus approached it, he could feel its quantum signature, chaotic and unstable, like a song being played with all the instruments out of tune. He reached out and touched the crystal, immediately feeling the familiar sensation of quantum harmonics flowing through his enhanced neural pathways. The crystal's discord was more complex than anything he had worked with before, but gradually he found the proper frequency and began to guide it toward stability. The moment the first crystal achieved harmony, a second formation materialized, this one larger and more complex, its quantum signature indicating severe dimensional instability. Marcus placed his other hand on it, splitting his attention between maintaining the first crystal's harmony while working to stabilize the second. The process continued for what felt like hours. Each time Marcus successfully harmonized a crystal formation, another would appear, more complex and challenging than the last. Soon he was surrounded by floating quantum structures. His consciousness stretched across multiple dimensional frequencies as he worked to maintain harmony among increasingly chaotic forces. Through the blood bond, he could feel Kethavar's amazement. The alien had expected Marcus to succeed with perhaps 3 or 4 crystal formations, the typical limit for even experienced Zephyrian Nexus candidates. Marcus was currently maintaining stability among 12 different quantum structures, and more kept appearing. The 13th crystal formation nearly broke his concentration. It appeared directly in front of him, radiating the quantum signature of a full cascade event, the same type of instability that had destroyed the Kepler system. Marcus could feel its chaotic energy trying to spread to the other crystals, threatening to destabilize everything he had achieved so far. For a moment, panic threatened to overwhelm him. The Cascade crystal's quantum signature was exponentially more complex than anything he had encountered, its disharmony so profound that it seemed to resist his attempts at stabilization. Through the blood bond, he felt Kethavar's sudden fear. The alien recognized the Cascade signature and understood the danger. But then Marcus remembered something from Kethavar's memories, the way Zephyrian quantum singers approached cascade events not as problems to be solved, but as cosmic symphonies that had simply lost their way. He stopped trying to force harmony on the crystal and instead began to listen to its chaotic song, seeking to understand what it was trying to express. The Cascade crystal's quantum signature told a story of violence and disruption, the sudden removal of quantum crystals from their natural formations, the dimensional stress caused by massive extraction operations, the cascade effect that resulted when reality itself recoiled from the trauma. Marcus felt tears streaming down his face as he experienced the crystal's memory of billions of lives snuffed out in an instant. "You're in pain," he whispered to the crystal. "You never wanted to hurt anyone. You just wanted to sing in harmony with the cosmos." He reached out not with force but with compassion, offering the crystal a chance to return to its natural harmonic state. The response was immediate and overwhelming. The cascade crystal's chaotic energy began to transform, its violent dissonance resolving into a melody of heartbreaking beauty. As the cascade crystal achieved harmony, something unexpected happened. The other 12 crystals in the chamber began to resonate with its stabilized frequency, creating a chorus of quantum harmonics that filled the testing chamber with music that seemed to come from the very fabric of reality itself. But Marcus was no longer just maintaining the crystals' harmony. He was experiencing their collective consciousness, feeling their connection to quantum crystals throughout the galaxy. Through them, he could sense distant star systems where similar formations were struggling with instability, crying out for the same compassion and understanding he had shown the cascade crystal. "Incredible," Valandra breathed, her voice filled with awe. "He's not just harmonizing the test crystals, he's creating a resonance cascade that's affecting quantum formations throughout the sector." Through the blood bond, Marcus felt Kethvar's overwhelming pride and something else, a deep sense of vindication. The alien had believed in Marcus's potential when no one else would, and now that faith was being validated in ways that exceeded even Kethvar's wildest hopes. But the testing wasn't over. A 14th crystal formation materialized, larger than all the others combined and radiating a quantum signature that made Marcus's enhanced neural pathways scream in protest. This wasn't a cascade crystal, it was something far worse. "A temporal fracture formation," Valandra announced, her voice tight with concern. "This represents the type of quantum instability that can affect entire timelines, potentially erasing civilizations from history itself. No Nexus candidate has ever successfully harmonized a temporal fracture crystal." Marcus studied the massive formation, feeling its quantum signature like a physical weight pressing against his consciousness. The crystal existed in multiple temporal states simultaneously, past, present, and future overlapping in ways that defied conventional understanding of causality. Attempting to harmonize it would require him to stretch his consciousness across multiple timelines, a process that could easily shatter his mind. Through the blood bond, he felt Kethvar's desperate concern. The alien wanted to call off the test, to accept Marcus's already incredible achievement with the 13 other crystals. But Marcus could sense something in the temporal fracture crystal's quantum signature, a familiar pain, a cry for help that resonated with his enhanced neural patterns. "It's not trying to destroy timelines," Marcus said suddenly, his understanding crystallizing. "It's trying to repair them. Something damaged the temporal fabric, and the crystal is attempting to heal the fracture, but it doesn't know how." He approached the temporal fracture formation carefully, his consciousness already beginning to stretch across multiple dimensional states. The moment he made contact, his awareness exploded across countless possible timelines, realities where the human-Zephyrian war had never started, where both species worked together from first contact, where quantum cascade events had been prevented through cooperation and understanding. In one timeline, he saw himself as a child growing up on Earth and never venturing into space. In another, he saw himself as an elderly man, teaching human and Zephyrian children how to harmonize quantum crystals. The temporal fracture was showing him every possible version of reality, seeking the one timeline that would result in maximum stability and minimal suffering. Working with the temporal fracture crystal was like conducting an orchestra composed of infinite musicians, each playing a different version of the same cosmic symphony. Marcus had to harmonize not just quantum frequencies, but probability streams and causal chains, guiding countless potential futures toward the single timeline that offered the greatest hope for peace. The process took everything he had. His consciousness was stretched across dimensions and timelines, until he could barely remember who he was or where he came from. Only the blood bond kept him anchored, Kethvar's steady presence serving as a lighthouse in the storm of infinite possibilities. When the temporal fracture crystal finally achieved harmony, the effect was beyond anything the quantum singers had ever witnessed. Every crystal formation in the chamber began to sing in perfect unison, their harmonized frequencies creating a resonance cascade that spread throughout the planet and beyond. Marcus collapsed to his knees, his consciousness snapping back to his own timeline like a rubber band. Through the blood bond, he felt Kethvar's relief and amazement, but also something else, a profound sense of completion, as if the alien had been waiting his entire life for this moment. "Impossible," Velandra whispered, her starry eyes wide with disbelief. He harmonized a temporal fracture crystal. The quantum resonance cascade is affecting crystal formations throughout the Empire. Cascade events that have been building for cycles are resolving themselves. Other quantum singers were rushing, that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. As Marcus entered, accompanied by Kethvar and escorted by Velandra, he could feel the harmonic resonance of thousands of quantum formations singing in perfect unity, a direct result of his success in the testing chamber 3 days earlier. The council itself consisted of 7 ancient Zephyrians whose bodies had been so transformed by decades of quantum harmony work that they appeared more like living constellations than physical beings. When they spoke, their voices created music that Marcus felt in his bones. Human Marcus Chen, the central figure, intoned, "Your achievement in harmonizing the temporal fracture crystal has prevented 17 cascade events throughout the galaxy and stabilized quantum formations in over 300 star systems. The Council acknowledges your status as a prime quantum nexus, the first of your species to achieve such designation." Marcus bowed, uncertain of the proper protocol but wanting to show respect. Through the blood bond, he felt Kethvar's pride and something else, anticipation for what was to come. "Your people and ours have been at war due to misunderstanding and fear," continued another council member, her voice like the sound of distant stars singing. "But you have proven that cooperation between our species offers possibilities beyond either of our imaginations. The Council wishes to propose terms for ending hostilities and beginning a new era of partnership." What followed was the most important diplomatic negotiation in human history, conducted in a chamber where reality itself seemed to bend around the participants' words. The Zephyrian terms were generous: immediate cessation of hostilities, joint quantum stabilization efforts, and shared technology transfers that would advance human civilization by centuries. But it was the final term that took Marcus's breath away. "The Council offers you, Marcus Chen, the position of Prime Nexus Coordinator for the Galactic Quantum Stability Initiative," Velandra announced. "You would serve as the link between human and Zephyrian quantum management efforts, with authority to coordinate stabilization efforts across both territories. Your blood bond with warrior Kethvar would serve as the template for future human-Zephyrian partnerships." Marcus felt the magnitude of what was being offered. Not just peace between the species, but a chance to prevent quantum disasters throughout the galaxy. The temporal fracture crystal had shown him possible futures where billions of lives were saved through proper quantum management. Now he was being offered the chance to make those futures real. "What would this mean for my people?" Marcus asked. "Humans would be granted full membership in the Quantum Singers Guild," the lead council member explained. "Your species' natural quantum resistance combined with proper training could produce thousands of Nexus-capable individuals. Together, our peoples could heal the quantum damage inflicted throughout the galaxy and prevent future cascade events." Through the blood bond, Marcus felt Kethvar's encouragement. The alien had dreamed of this possibility from the moment they first formed their connection, a future where the war ended not in conquest, but in cooperation. "There is one more thing," Velandra added, her harmonic voice taking on a note of profound significance. "The temporal fracture crystal you harmonized showed us something unprecedented. When you touched it, you didn't just stabilize its quantum matrix, you actually repaired damage to the timeline itself." Marcus remembered the overwhelming experience of conducting the orchestra of infinite realities. "What kind of damage?" "The quantum cascade events caused by improper crystal mining didn't just destroy matter and energy," the council member explained. "They created temporal fractures that erased entire possibilities from existence, futures that should have been but could never occur because the cascade events prevented them. You restored those lost timelines." The full implications hit Marcus like a physical blow. "You're saying I brought back erased futures?" "Not just brought back," Velandra corrected. integrated them into our current timeline. People who had been erased from existence are once again part of reality, though they may experience their restoration as vivid dreams or strange memories. Civilizations that had been lost to cascade events now exist in alternate dimensional states, accessible through quantum tunnel networks. Marcus sank into the crystalline chair that had been provided for him, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what he had unknowingly accomplished. Through the blood bond, he felt Keithvar's awe and gratitude. The alien's own family had been lost in one of the early cascade events, and they were among those who had been restored to existence. The reward beyond imagination, Marcus whispered, finally understanding the true meaning of his blood bond with Keithvar. It's not just ending the war or preventing future disasters. It's healing the damage that's already been done. Precisely, the lead council member confirmed. As Prime Nexus Coordinator, you would have access to temporal quantum matrices throughout the galaxy. Working with both human and Zephyrian Nexus specialists, you could systematically repair timeline damage and restore lost possibilities to reality. The negotiations continued for hours, covering technical details, timeline requirements, and the establishment of joint training facilities where humans could learn quantum harmony techniques. But Marcus found his attention drifting to the larger implications of what was being offered. Through the blood bond, he could feel Keithvar's thoughts clearly now. The alien was imagining a future where their partnership served as the foundation for an entirely new form of galactic civilization. Not an empire built on conquest, but a cooperative network dedicated to maintaining cosmic stability and protecting the fundamental forces that held reality together. When the formal negotiations concluded, Marcus found himself alone with Keithvar in a crystalline garden that existed in 7 dimensions simultaneously. The alien was quieter than usual, and through their bond, Marcus could sense the depth of emotion Keithvar was struggling to express. Blood-bonded Marcus, Keithvar said finally. This one must confess something. When this one first offered the blood bond, it was primarily tactical, a desperate attempt to forge an alliance that might save both our peoples from continued warfare. This one did not expect. You didn't expect to actually care about me, Marcus finished, smiling. The feeling is mutual, my friend. I thought I was just helping an injured alien. I had no idea I was forming the most important relationship of my life. Through the bond, he felt Keithvar's profound relief and affection. The alien had been uncertain whether the connection they shared was merely the artificial result of the blood bond ritual, or something deeper and more genuine. The Council's offer is extraordinary, Keithvar continued. But it will mean a lifetime commitment to serving as a bridge between our peoples. Are you prepared for that responsibility? Marcus looked around the multidimensional garden, watching quantum crystals grow in patterns that followed mathematical laws he was only beginning to understand. In the distance, he could see Zephyrian children learning to harmonize with small crystal formations while their parents watched proudly. I keep thinking about that temporal fracture crystal, Marcus said. When I touched it, I saw all those possible timelines, realities where our peoples worked together from the beginning, where quantum disasters never happened, where billions of lives were saved through cooperation instead of lost to misunderstanding. He turned to face Keithvar directly. Those timelines exist now because we formed our blood bond, because you trusted a human stranger with your life, and because I chose to trust you in return. If that's not worth a lifetime commitment, I don't know what is. Through the bond, Marcus felt Keithvar's joy and determination. They had found something worth dedicating their lives to, not just peace between their species, but the active healing of a damaged galaxy. The formal ceremony accepting the Council's offer took place at sunset in the planet's capital plaza, attended by representatives from all 47 species that comprised the Zephyrian Empire. As Marcus accepted the crystalline pendant that marked his status as Prime Nexus Coordinator, he felt quantum formations throughout the galaxy responding to his presence. Through enhanced quantum communication networks, he could sense human colonies throughout space receiving the news of the peace treaty and the establishment of the Galactic Quantum Stability Initiative. There would be skepticism and resistance from some quarters, but the promise of quantum technologies and protection from cascade events would gradually win over even the most stubborn opponents. That night, as Marcus and Keithvar sat together in the aliens' quarters reviewing plans for the first joint human Zephyrian quantum stability missions, Marcus reflected on the incredible journey that had brought them to this point. You know, He said, "When I first found you bleeding in those maintenance tunnels, I never imagined it would lead to this." "Nor did this one," Kethvar replied. "But perhaps that is the nature of the most important moments in our lives. They arrive disguised as simple choices to help a stranger in need." Through their blood bond, Marcus felt the aliens' thoughts turn toward the future. Missions to stabilize quantum formations in distant galaxies, the training of thousands of human nexus specialists, the gradual healing of timeline damage throughout the cosmos. It was an overwhelming responsibility, but one